Patricia Mae Andrzejewski, known professionally as Pat Benatar, is an American singer and four-time Grammy Award winner. She is a mezzo-soprano. She has had considerable commercial success, particularly in the United States. During the 1980s, Benatar had 2 RIAA-certified Multi-Platinum albums, 5 RIAA-certified Platinum albums, 3 RIAA-certified Gold albums and 14 top 40 singles, including the top 10 hits, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Love Is a Battlefield, We Belong, and Invincible. Other popular singles include Heartbreaker, Treat Me Right, Fire and Ice, Promises in the Dark, and Shadows of the Night. Benatar was one of the most heavily played artists in the early days of MTV. She was the first woman to play on MTV performing You Better Run. Life and career. Patricia Mae Andrzejewski was born in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, New York City. Her mother, Mildred, was a beautician, and her father, Andrew Andrzejewski, was a sheet metal worker. Her father was of Polish descent and her mother was of English, Irish, and German ancestry. Her family moved to North Hamilton Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, a village in the Long Island township of Babylon. She became interested in theater and began voice lessons, singing her first solo at age 8, at Daniel Street Elementary School, a song called It Must Be Spring. At Lindenhurst Senior High School, she participated in musical theater, playing Queen Guinevere in the school production of Camelot, marching in the homecoming parade, singing at the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and performing a solo of the Christmas song on a holiday recording of the Lindenhurst High School choir her senior year. Training as a collaborator with plans to attend the Juilliard School, Benatar surprised family, friends and teachers by deciding a classical career was not for her and pursued health education at the State University of New York at Stony Brook. At 19, after 1 year at Stony Brook, she dropped out to marry her first husband, high school sweetheart Dennis Benatar, an Army draftee who trained at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then served with the Army Security Agency at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, before being stationed at Fort Lee, Virginia, where Dennis was stationed for 3 years. Pat worked as a bank teller near Richmond, Virginia. In 1973, Benatar quit her job as a bank teller to pursue a singing career after being inspired by a Liza Minnelli concert she saw in Richmond. She got a job as a singing waitress at a flapper-esque nightclub named the Roaring Twenties and got a gig singing in lounge band Coxswain's Army, a regular at Sam Miller's Basement Club. The band garnered enough attention to be the subject of an ever-aired PBS special, and the band's bassist Roger Capps also would go on to be the original bass player for the Pat Benatar Band. The period also yielded Benatar's first and only single until her eventual 1979 debut on Chrysalis Records, Day Gig, Trace Records, written and produced by Coxswain's Army band leader Phil Coxswain and locally released in Richmond. Her big break came in 1975 at an amateur night at the comedy club Catch a Rising Star in New York. Her rendition of Judy Garland's Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie melody earned her a callback by club owner Rick Newman, who would become her manager. The couple headed back to New York following Dennis' discharge from the Army, and Benatar went on to be a regular member at Catch a Rising Star for close to 3 years, until signing a record contract. Catch a Rising Star was not the only break Benatar got in 1975. She landed the part of Zephyr in Harry Chapin's futuristic rock musical, The Zinger. The production, which debuted on March 19, 1976, at the Performing Arts Foundation's Playhouse in Huntington Station, Long Island, ran for a month and also featured Beverly D'Angelo and Christine Lahti. Benatar noted, "I was 22 by the time I started to sing rock, so at first I was very conscious of technique and I was overly technical. That proved to be inhibiting, so it was a disadvantage until I began to sing intuitively. That unregistered trademark is the only way to sing rock from your gut-level feelings. It's the instinct that the best singers have." Halloween 1977 proved a pivotal night in Benatar's early, spandexed stage persona. Rather than change out to the costume she wore to a Halloween contest at the Café Figaro in Greenwich Village that evening, she went on stage at Catch a Rising Star in costume. Benatar said, I was dressed as a character from this ridiculous B-movie called Cat Women of the Moon. Between appearances at Catch a Rising Star and recording commercial jingles for Pepsi-Cola and a number of regional concerns, she headlined New York City unregistered trademark S-Tramps nightclub from March 29, April 1, 1978, where her performance impressed representatives from several record companies. She was signed to Chrysalis Records by co-founder Terry Ellis the following week. Benatar recorded her first album, In the Heat of the Night, in June and July 1979. Pat and Dennis divorced in 1979. Pat Benatar won an unprecedented 4 consecutive Grammy Awards for Best Female Rock Performance for her LP Crimes of Passion and the songs Fire and Ice, Shadows of the Night, and Love as a Battlefield. Of the 10 Grammy seasons of the 1980s, Benatar was nominated for Best Female Rock Performance 8 times, including Invincible in 1985, Sex as a Weapon in 1985, and All Fired Up in 1988. She married guitarist and producer Neil Giraldo on February 20, 1982 at Hana, Hawaii. The couple first met in 1979 when he arrived at her rehearsal building to audition, prompting Pat to think to herself, "Girl, you have just seen the father of your children." Benatar was separated from her first husband at the time, and once the divorce was finalized later in 1979, the relationship with Giraldo began in earnest. They have 2 daughters. Benatar also earned Grammy Award nominations in 1984 for Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female with We Belong, and in 1986 for Best Rock Vocal Performance, Duo or Group as a member of Artists United Against Apartheid for their single, Sun City. Benatar is also the winner of 3 American Music Awards, Favorite Female Pop Rock Vocalist of 1981 and 1983, and Favorite Female Pop Rock Video Artist of 1985. She was inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame at the second induction award ceremony and fundraising gala held October 30, 2008. In 2010, she published her autobiography, Between a Heart and a Rock Place, discussing her early life and success in the music business. On December 31, 2013, Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve's 30 Greatest Women in Music, she was number 25. There have been rumors that Pat and Spider are working on some new material for an upcoming studio album. Discography. In the Heat of the Night, Benatar's debut album In the Heat of the Night was released in August 1979, and reached number 12 in the US in early 1980. It established Benatar as a new force in rock. Producer Mike Chapman, who had worked with Blondie and the Knack, broke his vow not to take on any new artists when he heard Benatar's demo tape. Chapman personally produced 3 tracks on the album, while his longtime engineer and now independent producer, Peter Coleman, oversaw the rest. In addition, Chapman and his songwriting partner, Nicky Chin, wrote 3 songs that appear on the LP, In the Heat of the Night, and If You Think You Know How to Love Me, which were previously recorded by Smokey, as well as a rearranged version of a song they wrote for Sweet, No You Don't. The album also featured 2 songs written by Roger Capps and Benatar, as well as I Need a Lover written by John Mellencamp and Don't Let It Show written by Alan Parsons and Eric Wolfson. The album would be Benatar's first RIAA-certified Platinum album. In Canada it was certified 4X Platinum, where it peaked at number 3 on the RPM Albums chart. If You Think You Know How to Love Me was the first single to be released on September 14, 1979. However, it was unsuccessful. Benatar's second single Heartbreaker was released on October 26, 1979 and became a hit, climbing to number 23 in the US. A third single, We Live for Love, which was written by her future husband Neil Giraldo, was released in February 1980, and reached US number 27. Crimes of Passion. In August 1980, Benatar released her LP, Crimes of Passion, featuring her signature song Hit Me With Your Best Shot along with a controversial song Hell Is for Children, which was inspired by reading a series of articles in the New York Times about child abuse in America. Hit Me With Your Best Shot was her first single to break the US top 10 and sold more than 1 million copies in the United States. The album peaked for 5 consecutive weeks at number 2 in the US in January 1981 and eventually sold over 5 million copies. and a month later, Benatar won her first Grammy Award for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance of 1980 for the album. Other singles released from Crimes of Passion were Treat Me Right, and the Rascals cover, You Better Run, which gained some later fame when it was the second music video ever played on MTV, after the Buggles video killed the radio star. The album also featured a changed tempo cover of Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights. Nominally produced by Keith Olsen, Crimes of Passion remained on the US album charts for 93 weeks and in the top 10 for more than 6 months, eventually becoming her second consecutive platinum certification by the RIAA. In October 1980, Benatar graced the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. The album was certified 5x platinum in Canada, her best-selling album in that country where it peaked at number 2 on the album charts. Precious Time, in July 1981. Her third LP, Precious Time, was released. A month later the album hit number 1 on the Billboard US Top 200 LP chart. It was also her first to chart in the UK, reaching number 30. The album's lead single, Fire and Ice, was another big hit and would win Benatar her second Grammy Award, this time for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance of 1981 and her third consecutive RIAA-certified Platinum album. In Canada it was certified double platinum and peaked at number 2 on the album's chart. Promises in the Dark was also released. In August 1981, Benatar's video for You Better Run was the second clip aired by MTV, making Pat Benatar the first solo female artist to appear on the channel, and Scott Sheets and Neil Giraldo the first guitarists, because there was no guitarist on the first video played on MTV, which was the Buggles song Video Killed the Radio Star. The Benatar video was specifically chosen by MTV to echo the message to the radio industry contained in Video Killed the Radio Star, that things were going to change. Get Nervous, a hit single, Shadows of the Night, heralded a new LP, Get Nervous, released in late 1982. The album was another smash, reaching US number 4, her fourth consecutive RIAA and RIAA Platinum certification, and the single would garner Benatar her third Grammy, again for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance of 1982. The follow-up singles, Little Too Late, and Looking for a Stranger, were also successful, hitting US number 20 and number 39 respectively. The WWII-themed music video for Shadows of the Night featured then unknown actors Judge Reinhold and Bill Paxton as an American fighter co-pilot and a German radio operator, respectively. The album was certified platinum in Canada where it peaked at 16 on the album charts. Live from Earth, by 1983, Benatar had established a reputation for singing about tough subject matters, best exemplified by one of the biggest hits of her career, Love is a Battlefield, released in December 1983. By then, her sound had mellowed from hard rock to more atmospheric pop new wave and the story-based video clip for Love is a Battlefield was aimed squarely at MTV, even featuring Benatar in a Michael Jackson-inspired group dance number. This new pop-rock direction was a huge commercial success, with the single peaking at number 5 in the United States, and number 1 in Australia for 7 consecutive weeks. The song gained interest in the UK where it peaked at number 49. The song would also net Benatar her fourth consecutive Grammy Award for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance of 1983. A live album, Live from Earth, which was recorded during Benatar's sold-out Get Nervous World Tour of America and Europe in 1982 and 1983, contained 2 studio tracks, Love is a Battlefield, and Lipstick Lies. The album peaked at US number 13 and became her 5th consecutive RIAA and RIAA Platinum winner. The album peaked at 25 on the Canadian Albums Chart. Tropico, in August 1984, Benatar released her 5th studio album, Tropico. The single We Belong, released in October 1984, a month prior to the album release, became another top 10 hit in the US, peaking at number 5 and number 7 in Australia. It was also Benatar's first ever UK Top 40 hit, where it peaked at number 22. A second single release, You Song, reached US number 36. It is also said by Benatar and Giraldo that this album is the first where they moved away from Benatar's famed hard rock sound and start experimenting with new, sometimes gentler, styles and sounds. Despite not quite making the US top 10, it immediately earned her a sixth consecutive RIAA and RIAA Platinum certified album. In Canada, the album peaked at 21 on the album charts. After the chart success of We Belong in the UK, Love is a Battlefield was re-released in early 1985 and became her highest chart hit there, reaching number 17. We Belong was also nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance in 1986. Benatar's first nomination in that category. 7 The Hard Way. In 1985, she released her sixth studio album, 7 The Hard Way. Benatar would hit the US top 10 with a Grammy-nominated single, Invincible, which was written by Holly Knight and Simon Climie in 1985, 3 full months before the album was released. Her other Grammy-nominated single, Sex is a Weapon, would climb as high as number 28 in January 1986, and Le Bel Age in February. The album 7 The Hard Way peaked at number 26, earning an RIAA Gold certification. In Canada, it was her seventh consecutive platinum-certified album and it peaked at 36 on the album's sales chart. In Benatar's autobiography, Between a Heart and a Rock Place, she said, "Out of all the albums, 7 The Hard Way cost the most to make and sold the least." The albums sold approximately 600,000 US copies. Wide Awake and Dreamland. In July 1988, Benatar released her seventh studio album, Wide Awake and Dreamland. The Grammy-nominated and lead single, All Fired Up, reached number 19 in both the US and the UK, and was a number 2 smash in Australia, becoming one of the biggest hits of 1988 in that country. Other singles released from the LP are Don't Walk Away, the Grammy-nominated Let's Stay Together, and One Love. The album also earned an RIAA Gold certification and was her eighth consecutive platinum-certified album in Canada, where it peaked at 11 on the album's chart. True Love. True Love was a jump blues record, released in late April 1991, and featured the blues band Roomful of Blues, backing up Pat Benatar, Neil Giraldo and Myron Grombacher. The album sold over 339,000 copies without significant radio airplay and limited exposure on VH1. Payin' the Cost to Be the Boss, So Long, and the title cut were released as singles. The album reached number 40 in the UK and number 37 in the US. It was certified gold in Canada for sales of 50,000 units, her first to not achieve platinum status and her last certified album for that country, where it peaked at 22 on the album's sales chart. Gravity's Rainbow. Gravity's Rainbow was released in 1993 and was a return to the AOR genre. Everybody Lay Down was picked up by Album Rock Radio and went all the way to number 3. The single was never released to top 40/contemporary hit radio and a music video was never produced. Somebody's Baby was instead released as the single to top 40 radio and a music video produced. In Canada, the album peaked at 44 on the album's sale charts. A third track was scheduled and a video shot for Every Time I Fall Back, but the single was never released and their music video was lost when Chrysalis was sold to EMI Records. Benatar had become pregnant again and this may have had an effect on her label's support of the album. This was Benatar's last album recorded for Chrysalis Records. With very little promotion from Chrysalis, Gravity's Rainbow failed to have the same commercial success as Benatar's previous works. According to SoundScan, the album sold approximately 160,000 copies in the United States. It is currently available in a 2-for-1 release with True Love. Innamorata was released in 1997 in the CMC International record label. A single video was produced for Strawberry Wine. According to SoundScan, the album has now sold close to 65,000 copies in the 14 years since its release. Go. Benatar has released only one album of new material since 1997's Innamorata, which is 2003's Go. The album included the 9/11 charity single, Christmas in America, as a bonus track. A video was produced for the single Have It All, but was never released until it was leaked on YouTube in 2012. The only video from this album is for the bonus track. They reunited with Holly Knight, with Neil and Holly co-writing the tune Girl. The hard rock title track Go became a popular performance song for Benatar's future concerts. According to SoundScan, the album has now sold nearly 34,000 copies. Greatest Hits Collections, Best Shots was first released in the UK in 1987, where it became Benatar's biggest-selling album in the UK. It reached number 6 and achieved gold sales status. The album was also a top 20 hit in Australia. In the US, it was released in November 1989. The US version consisted of 15 tracks on a single CD, including a live version of Hell Is for Children with Suffer the Little Children intro, Painted Desert, and a remixed version of Outlaw Blues. It would be another certified RIAA Gold album. Best Shots was the only official greatest hits compilation until 1994, when All Fired Up, the very best of Pat Benatar, was released. The box set Synchronistic Wanderings was released in 1999. Classic Masters was released in October 2002, and Pat Benatar Greatest Hits was released in June 2005 and peaked in the US at number 47. The most recent collection, Ultimate Collection, was released in June 2008 under the Capitol Records label with 40 24-bit digitally remastered tracks. Ultimate Collection included the version of Every Time I Fall Back from her appearance on The Young and the Restless. In May 2011, the Best of Collection entitled 10 Great Songs peaked at number 123 on the album chart. Tours, 1979–1980, toured in support of In the Heat of the Night and Crimes of Passion, 1981, Precious Time Tour, 1982–1983, Get Nervous Tour, resulting in the Live from Earth album, 1985–1986, Seven the Hard Way Tour, 1988, Wide Awake and Dreamland Tour, 1991, True Love Tour with Hall & Oates, 1993, Gravity's Rainbow Tour with 7 dates only, 1995, Can't Stop Rockin' Tour with Fleetwood Mac and REO Speedwagon, 1996. Hits Tour, which previewed some Inamorata material, 1997, toured with the Steve Miller Band, adding full-length solo shows in bars and clubs on Miller's Nights Off. Appeared at Lilith Fair for 2 performances, 1998, Inamorata Tour, 1999, Synchronistic Wanderings 20th Anniversary Tour, 2000, PB 2000 Tour, 2001–2002, Summer Vacation Tour, 2003, I Won't Go Tour, 2004, Let's Go Tour, 2005, Almost 2 Tour, 2006, Pillai Amnesia Off the Rock Tour, 2007, Summarize Tour, 2008, Fired Up Tour, 2009, Call Me Invincible Tour with Blondie, and also featured the Donnas on some full-length solo shows. 2010, Love on the Run Tour with REO Speedwagon, which included her original drummer, Myron Grombacher. Subsequently, in October 2010, she toured Australia and played various dates with the 1980s girl pop group The Bangles. 2011, The Elements of Five Tour, 2012, toured with Loverboy and Journey. 2013, New Zealand tour with Bachman and Turner and America. North American tour with Cheap Trick, Eric Burdon, and selected solo dates. 2014, Dress to Kill tour with Cher. 2014, 35th anniversary tour with solo dates and co-headlining dates with Rick Springfield and Cheap Trick. Memoir. In June 2010, Benatar's memoir, Between a Heart and a Rock Place, was released. The book was published by HarperCollins and was acquired by Lisa Sharkey. Benatar's memoir touches on her battles with her record company Chrysalis, the difficulties her career caused in her personal life, and feminism. In the memoir, she is quoted as saying, "For every day since I was old enough to think, I've considered myself a feminist. It's empowering to watch and to know that, perhaps in some way, I made the hard path, women have to walk just a little bit easier." The book went on to become a New York Times bestseller. Initially reluctant to undertake the project, she found the actual writing process so enjoyable that it inspired her with plans to write a novel. In summer 2011, Benatar announced she was working on a Christmas album and a novel about the Second Coming of Christ. Band. Although billed as a solo artist, Benatar recorded and toured with a consistent set of band members over most of her career, who contributed greatly to the writing and producing of songs and are recognizable characters on album photos and in many of her music videos. Neil "Spider" Giraldo is the lead guitarist of the band and has performed on all of Benatar's albums. Born in Cleveland on December 29, 1955, Giraldo began playing the guitar at the age of 6 and learned to play the piano at age 12. Giraldo performed in Rick Derringer's touring band before working with Benatar, appearing in a possible bootleg entitled Derringer Live at the Paradise Theatre, Boston, Massachusetts, July 7, 1978. Giraldo's appearance on the video for Benatar's You Better Run distinguished him and Scott Sheets as the first guitarists on MTV. The video, the second ever aired on MTV, followed the Buggles, who had no guitar player. In addition to playing lead guitar, Giraldo is credited with composing and producing much of Benatar's work. Giraldo's first outside production credit was on John Waite's debut album Ignition. He has also given a helping musical hand to artists such as the Del Lords, Rick Springfield, the Crusaders and Kenny Loggins. In addition, Giraldo was the musical composer for the 2005 movie Smile starring Beau Bridges, Linda Hamilton, Sean Astin and directed by Jeffrey Kramer. The soundtrack features an original song by Giraldo and Scott Kempner of the Del Lords, appearing as the Paradise Brothers, titled Beautiful Something. Proceeds from the movie go to Operation Smile. The Paradise Brothers also contributed a cover of Light of Day for a Bruce Springsteen tribute album. Myron Grombacher, who played with Neil in Rick Derringer's touring band, is drummer on 9 of Benatar's original albums and has numerous writing credits. Myron is easily recognizable in the music videos, particularly as the Mad Dentist in Get Nervous. Charlie Giordano performed keyboard duties on 5 albums, and is identifiable by his glasses and distinctive array of berets, blazers and 80s-style ties. In 2007, he replaced the late Danny Federici in the E Street Band. Mick Mine is the band's bassist and has performed with Benatar since 1995. The original bassist, Roger Capps, was replaced by Donnie Sovontropico, and then later by Frank Lynx. Chris Rawls is the band's current drummer. Scott St. Clair Sheets, who was originally the lead guitarist of the infamous 70s NYC band, The Brats, was an original member of the Pat Benatar Band. Sheets is credited as guitarist on the first 3 albums and first 3 world tours. He wrote the song Prisoner of Love for the Crimes of Passion album and co-wrote the hit Fire and Ice for the Precious Time album. Sheets left the Benatar Band and started the band, Perfect Stranger, with Werner Fritzing, Rick Zivick and Glenn Alexander Hamilton. Sheets went on to produce and or play guitar on albums by Lenny White, Planet P, Michael Wynn, Minico and the Wildcats. Sheets also became a prolific songwriter, penning songs for Vanilla Fudge, King Cobra, Minico and the Wildcats, and in 2010 his song Fly Me Away was a top 10 contender for the American Idol Songwriters Contest. In 1997, Sheets released his solo album St. Clair that includes a remake of the hit Fire and Ice. Sheets currently lives in Nashville. Glenn Alexander Hamilton played drums on the first album. Other achievements: stage and screen soundtracks. In 1980, Benatar played a small role in the film Union City, which featured Debbie Harry of Blondie as one of the main characters. You Better Run was featured on the soundtrack to Roadie, a 1980 film starring Meat Loaf. In 1981, Hell is for Children appeared on the soundtrack of the Ralph Bakshi animated film American Pop. In 1982, Treat Me Right was included in the soundtrack for An Officer and a Gentleman starring Richard Gere. The soundtrack to Giorgio Moroder's 1984 restoration of Fritz Lang's 1927 classic Metropolis features Benatar performing 2 versions of the movie's love song Here's My Heart. In 1985, Invincible was featured as the theme song for the film The Legend of Billie Jean. Benatar played the character Zephyr in Harry Chapin's futuristic rock musical The Zinger. Benatar performed the solo Shooting Star in honor of Chapin for the Harry Chapin tribute, Carnegie Hall, December 7, 1987. Run Between the Raindrops was featured on the soundtrack for The Stepfather in 1987. Sometimes the Good Guys Finish First was on the soundtrack for The Secret of My Success in 1987. Benatar appears on Yak Eat Yak, Take It Back, a public service announcement produced by the Take It Back Foundation in 1991. It was later shown occasionally on Sesame Street during the 1990s, though it does not feature any Sesame Street characters. Love is a Battlefield was featured twice on South Park, Indiana, 2003. Love is a Battlefield was featured in the comedy film 13 Going on 30. In 2003, Konami released a singing video game called Karaoke Revolution that featured the cover version of Benatar's song Hit Me With Your Best Shot as a part of the song list lineups. Benatar has made numerous television appearances, mostly as herself. She appeared with her husband in the Charmed episode Lucky Charmed, on which Heartbreaker was used, and in an episode of Dharma and Greg as herself singing We've Only Just Begun at an impromptu wedding in an airport. In 2001, she also appeared as fictional rock star Anna Raines in the CBS television drama Family Law with Dixie Carter and Christopher McDonald. In 2006, We Belong was featured in the video game Grand Theft Auto: Vice City Stories. In 2006, Benatar and her music were featured on CMT Crossroads. In 2007 to 2008, Benatar's single Hit Me With Your Best Shot was put into the song list for Guitar Hero 3 in the first tier of songs, also in Guitar Hero On Tour, and is available as a downloadable song in the video game Rock Band. Her song Heartbreaker is a playable song in the 2008 video game follow-up Guitar Hero World Tour, as well as also being downloadable content on Rock Band. In 2011, Fire and Ice, Love is a Battlefield, Shadows of the Night, We Belong, Invincible, and Promises in the Dark were added as downloadable content for the music game Rock Band 3. In 2010, the song We Belong appeared in the Sundance Film Festival hit film Blue Valentine, which starred Michelle Williams in her Oscar-nominated role and Ryan Gosling. Advertising: in 2006, the song We Belong was part of a $20 million ad campaign for Sheraton Hotels, although the version used in the commercial was not Benatar's. Her version of the song is featured in the 2006 comedy film Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, starring Will Ferrell and directed by Adam McKay. Though she had earlier expressed dismay for rock stars endorsing products, Benatar herself became a commercial spokeswoman for the Energizer Company, and has been featured in an ad for Candy's vintage shoes for Kohl's department store. In 2007, her song Passion could be downloaded free from the official Jell-O website. References. Further reading: Fissinger, Laura. Rock on Pop Stars. Pat Benatar. Creative Education 1983. ISBN 0-89813-101-4, McGee, Doug. Pat Benatar. Proteus 1985. ISBN 978-0-86276-251-3, Benatar, Pat and Cox, Patsy. Between a Heart and a Rock Place. HarperCollins 2010. ISBN 978-0-6-195,377-4. External links: official website, fan club website, the Italian site, Emmy artist page, Sanctuary Records artist page, Chrysalis Music Group USA, Pat Benatar at the Internet Movie Database, Neil Giraldo fan site, Neil Giraldo at the Internet Movie Database, Canadian Recording Industry Association Gold and Platinum certifications for Pat Benatar, CM Forever. Listen to KMEL DJ Paul Vincent interview Pat Benatar.